Awesome. Okay, lovely. Thank you all so very much for joining me this morning. If it's PST time for y'all, buenos dias. I believe if you're in the eastern side, it'll be buenas tardes, and for some of y'all, buenas noches, depending of which part of the world you're in. Thank you, thank you for doing this with me. I'm super excited to kind of share a bit more of myself with everybody who's joining me with the Patreon stuff. It's kind of wild because I'm like learning a lot of like new gadgets and things, and I've always made content, but not in this way before. So it's pretty dope. I'm gonna just go ahead and get started with some of the questions that I got on Instagram, and then I'll move on to TikTok. But also, if there's something here that y'all want to like put on the chat, I'm happy to answer. I got. Should I? Yeah, I'll go ahead and give people shout outs for the questions they asked. I got someone from their username is Unalulu, I believe, or Onalulu. And their question was fave experience with being poly. As you all know, in the Patreon, there's 3 tiers. You got the Mis Amores tier, which will have audio affirmations every week, and also bi-weekly tutorials. Then you got the Thirsty Siligoosing, which is essentially just a BTS of like everything, work, life, like me, just me, my life. But then the third tier is the We Be Polyculing one, which I get to share a little bit more of the people that I'm with and I get to share life with. And so it's very exciting. It's also very nerve-wracking. But with that said, my favorite experience with being poly, honestly, it's how my friendships have changed. I grew up pretty conservatively and pretty traditionally, and I've had to unpack a lot of like toxic mononormativity in my life. I used to be very much of like I am with this one person for the rest of my life, like you and me forever, like nobody else, and any other friendship. Like I would trump any experiences with friends because I would be like, oh, I can't do that with a friend. I'll do that with a partner. And so I began to kind of like not really expand on my friendships or really deepen my friendships. And so as I began to uh, deconstruct relationship norms and explore polyamory, my friendships have taken a really beautiful depth that I am welcoming in a very beautiful way. I have a lot of friendships that include platonic romance, and I love to date my friends. I love to take them out on like delicious dinners or like go on trips and just really care for each other in that way. So that's been feeling really wonderful. Another thing that I really enjoy from polyamory, and it doesn't happen with every single relationship, but I really enjoy creating or nurturing a friendship with my metamors. It doesn't happen all the time, so don't get pressed if you're polyamorous and you really want to be friends with your metamors. Sometimes it doesn't happen, and that's okay. But I really am enjoying. I do enjoy it when that's an opportunity, and I take it. I'm like, yes, please, let's be friends, because there's something really beautiful about. I don't know, like of course we care about the same person. Of course we love the same person. Like who wouldn't? And I just that feels really good to share together. Um, so yeah, if you follow the if you follow the We Be Polyculing tier, I'll be talking about more polyamorous experiences or stuff or my own shenanigans. I'll answer more questions around polyamory here too because I saw some as well. But yeah, oh my goodness, I'm like just going at it. Ooh, yeah, go more into platonic romance. Yes. So it can look a platonic romance can look like anything you want. I even have a friend that we've labeled our friendship um erotic platonic, and we've never kissed, we've never but we just love to be really like we like to just like look at each other in like each other's eyes and just like get really close and just like hold each other in a very, like romance novel style, but like nothing ever happens. And it feels really fun to explore that. With more like romantic, platonic situations, for example, going on trips with friends, like have like you normally would be like, oh, it's a romantic weekend getaway, but then you end up doing it with a friend and it's like still romantic and beautiful, but you're not uh engaging in other dynamics that could lean into a more physically intimate relationship. But that could be defined. I mean, it could, again, what matters is that you and the other person know how to define what that means. Because like what platonic romance means to me might be different for somebody else. And if I do want to explore that with somebody, it would be good to sit down and be like, what does it mean to you? What does it mean to me? And then where we can like find that common ground. Okay, next question. Yeah, it was a good time. We would Marco Polo when I was in New Zealand, and he was in Montreal also filming. We would just like send each other Marco Polos in the morning and just be like, "Hi, good morning, BB," and it was just really cute. Anyway, I digress. The other question I got from Carly Lynette is, what's the most paranormal thing I've experienced? So my my grandfather, before he passed, this was like I was like very young. Before he passed, he had a lot of issues. They ended up having to amputate one of his legs, and he had like respiratory issues as well. So, and my grandparents' house had it was a two-story house. So, in order to facilitate a little bit more of his life, we repurposed the living room in the bottom floor, to oh yeah, you're here, sweet, awesome. So we repurposed the living room in the first floor to become his bedroom, so that way we wouldn't have to deal with like going up and down the stairs or any of that, right? So the reason why I say the respiratory issues is because he had this like machine that had like little balls that would like monitor the strength of his breath. And because he was always hooked on it, you would always hear the it was like Darth Vader almost. But anyway, so you would hear that constantly throughout. Like it was like that's how you knew that he was breathing. And so that happened for many a months, and then he passed. And after like a couple of months after him passing, and my grandma was like ready to like have the living room be the living room again and like change that and all that jazz, we were helping out in the living room. Is this 2 months after he passed? And all of a sudden I hear the and I just like I was helping my mom, and I kind of just like stopped, and I looked at her, and she looked at me, and we both heard it. We both were like, but no one said anything. It was just like we just looked at each other, and I was like, cool. And then it stopped, and we carried on. But it was a little spooky. It was a little spooky for sure. I mean, spooky, but also energy lives everywhere, right? And I understand that certain energies that are really heavy can stay in that space for a very long time, and if we're moving that energy in that space, some of those like energies that might be lingering might like release or whatever that may be. So that's that. I have Abeja de Miel who asked, if I were to see my doppelganger, what would I do? I've seen my doppelganger. Her name is Roberta Colindres. And everybody who knows Roberta has a crush on Roberta, which makes a lot of sense. She's really fucking cool. And I have met her, and I would love to do a movie. I would love to do a movie with her. Whether we're siblings or I don't know, action action something, maybe they're the cool and collected one and I'm the little, because that's the thing. I can understand why I look like her. Also, the first time I was bartending and I had like a similar haircut to the one that she had when she was filming um another show. I'm trying to not say any names of shows right now. And everybody was just like, "You look like this actor," and I was like, who is this person? There can only be one. But then I met her and I was like, oh, we're so different. Like, she's actually really cool. And I'm like the Muppet version of her. Anyway, so buddy comedy. That's what I would do with my doppelganger. And oh, cool. Awesome. Oh, cute. Oh, yeah. I'll answer this one real quick. What compliments do I prefer? Either femme or masc. Honestly, when I'm in queer spaces, I am here to mess around with anything and everything. When I am in spaces where I'm like one of the few, I kind of am just like, if you're gonna compliment me, like, try to go for the neutrals, like try to, lean for that. But when I'm like in queer spaces and everyone's just like, yes, 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 like I have a friend and like them and I call each other sisters all the time, like, yes, sis, yes, like, yes, queen, like we're here for it. So it really will depend on the context of where I'm in, whether I feel comfortable being more playful or I'm kind of just like, okay, I cannot give you all too much space, and then you're just gonna lean on one way, and then I'm like, I don't want to lean just that one way. And next one, I don't know how to pronounce this person's username, but they were asking for general advice on broaching the idea of using gender neutral neopronouns. So I believe this person doesn't. English might not be their first language, which is a similar experience to mine. In general, though, whether it's English or not, language is a tool for us to express and communicate, and it is alive just like us. Language exists because of us, and we are constantly building it and creating it and shifting it, and it's not stagnant. So, my general advice when exploring neo pronouns or gender neutral pronouns in any language is remind yourself that it's playful. It is play. Um, Treat it with curiosity, with compassion. It truly is. I mean, language is there for us, and it's totally fine to explore what feels good and like for me in Spanish specifically, because technically ella would be a neopronoun. It's something that did not exist, and then now it's like, okay, we're bringing it in. We're pitching it, right? There's a lot of words, for example, in Puerto Rico, we say like a lot, like nena, nene, like we always like kind of just like mira nena, mira nene. We always like use those two a lot, right? The thing with nene, which is the masculine, ends with e. And usually for neutral or neo pronouns in Spanish, the e would be the one that gets used. But in this case, is masculine. So with my parents, I was like, what if we start playing instead of saying like nene or nana, we say nanny. So using the I as an alternative, right? And it's that, right? It's like knowing that, like, listen, if just let's throw something and see if it sticks and it feels good. And if it doesn't, it's totally okay. We'll try something new, something that feels affirming, something that feels celebratory. I think that's the most important thing. So it doesn't need to be like this is the rule and this is the way. And I think it's important to have like a certain structure to play with, but also like it can be played around. I mean, at least someone who English is their second language, the amount of times that I'm like, oh, I thought that rule for that pronunciation applied for all of the ones, but then apparently not for this one word. So honestly, rules, they're flexible. They're flexible. Um and let me see. Oh, perfect. I got Ginger Kitty asking, looking forward, what am I looking forward the most in NYC? Honestly, seeing the fellas, seeing the fellas. I miss them a lot, and it's been like for some of them, it's been like a year since I've seen them, and I wanna squeeze them. I wanna have a little group hug squeeze. That would be nice. Um, oh, I got like distracted by these ones, but let me see if there's anything here that I can like. How does it work for you hanging out with multiple partners, metas? Oh, perfect. So the Delaire or Delaire, how does it work for me hanging out with multiple partners and metas? Um, a lot of conversations need to happen prior. I like to just like ease into it as much as possible. There is no rush. I feel like if someone is like really pressuring you to like you need to meet this person now, it's like hold up. you know um and it can happen in multiple ways. I've met metas at events. And after events, then I we do like a more intimate, like, everybody together. And then I've also hung out one-on-one with metas, which is incredible and a really fun time. And I feel like, I like to uh turn on. It's like you turn on the heat in the oven, and then you slowly, you don't just like go at it and just like put it at maximum. You kind of just like, you have one conversation, you have another conversation, and then you kind of just like figure out like who feels how comfortable with what. And then as you start kind of, gauging what feels like a good like middle ground, then you start like meeting everybody. But there's no need to rush, and also it's okay if nobody ever meets. I do like to practice kitchen table polyamory, but also I could eventually meet someone who's actually, I prefer more parallel polyamory, and then we can have a conversation around that. And how does that look like, and how does that work around the lifestyles, so that it could really vary. I think the biggest thing is sitting down and having conversations, even if they're uncomfortable, and not like being like it needs to happen this way. It's like, okay, we're gonna have a conversation. This is what I feel. Listen to the other person, how they feel, um, and honor where everyone is in that space, and then from that, create the safe spaces to um, so that everyone can meet. But it's really fun, and it's really, I mean, you can. To me, I've had. I think the first time I had both of them uh, for a prolonged period of time. They were hanging out in the couch, and I started doing voices, and then I started to do barking voices, and one of them was prompting me with like different, like, oh, do a Chihuahua, now do a golden retriever that like has everything. And then I just was giving them a small little improv show on voices, and none of them left me after that. So I get overwhelmed. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love them both, and I'm like, I get a little bit like, and then I do things like that, and thankfully none of them left me. So thumbs up. um, my goodness. Oh, the dogs. Oh, yeah, I will do a little intro on cute little pet cuties. Bum. Oh, cool. Yes, it's actually one of the questions that I have here. This year will be my first time visiting London. Is there anything specific I'm particularly excited to do? Um, I'm also bringing my family. My parents and my brother are coming to London. It's my mom's birthday as well. So I'm very excited to just like bring her over. It's the first time my parents also see me in a convention, and they're very, very excited. Honestly, it's been such a joy for me to share with them that experience. My brother came to Seattle with me, and he had a lot of fun as well. We're a bunch of nerds, so they're pretty stoked. So I don't have a list yet of places that I want to check out, but I know that I think the convention will be a little farther from like the main city, so I might move. But yes, I will definitely take suggestions for things in London. I will make like an Instagram with the suggestions thing, so that way I have it saved, because I don't know if I can save everything here. I will find out after this live stream if I am indeed able to keep this saved somehow. We'll find out. Hopefully, if I end stream, it's not gonna like evaporate. A millennial learning how to technology is a very fun time. Um, I have someone here asking for best relationship advice. I know I've kind of like centered a lot in relationships in this one. My best advice is if you're coming into an argument with the intention of wanting to win the argument, everyone's gonna lose. And if you come into an argument and you notice that the other person is coming with that intention, take a moment, and whether all the parties need to take a breath or like go on a walk or like come back, it's super important because like if you're in an argument and you're in that like state of like I must be the winner of the argument, you're not gonna it's no one's gonna win. But when you come to an argument with the intention of collaborating and with the intention of understanding or at least acknowledging and seeing the other person wherever they might be in that experience, that's when you're gonna win. Like everyone's gonna win. I think that's gonna be my best advice for relationships, and can be for literally any relationship, whether it's a romantic one or a friendship one or a familiar one. If you come kind of being like, I'm right, you're wrong, or you feel that person being like, I'm right, you're wrong, you got to be like, okay, hold up. How can we get to the space where we can like see each other, and hear each other, and actually work together as a team? That's the key. I got someone from TikTok asking about if I will be narrating more audiobooks and if that is a strike friendly question. Yes, it is a strike friendly question. Audiobooks are totally Jess. I have been working on a few titles recently. I got another one coming up I'm very excited about. For those of you who've listened to or read The Wicked Bargain, I believe I'm doing the prequel of that one, and it's about Dami, which I'm very, very excited about. So and to answer there's another question around that same thing. If there's a book that I would love to see made into a movie and what character I would love to play, honestly, I would love The Wicked Bargain to be done into a movie. And I know that Dami was like younger. I might have to be like, can we make Dami a little, I'm 32. Can we change it a little bit? Because I would love to play Dami. There's also another book that I narrated called Venom and Vow, by Anne Marie Malcolmore. And also I would love to play Valencia Val. I would love to play that character. Oh goodness. Are there any books you would love to do an audiobook of? Ooh, to be honest, I mostly just read the audiobooks that I get assigned to. And then I'm just like deeply fascinated by like the story. I love books that have like action and like fantasy. The one that I just read is called A River of Golden Bones, and that one's very, very fun. I don't know when it will come out, but it has fantasy, it's got romance, it's got magic and werewolves, and it's a fun time. It's a fun time. A fan reading of The Witcher. I'd love to. I mean, if anybody has any fanfics around that, please send them to me. Speaking of, I prefer if you send me fan fiction that has nothing to do with the show I'm in. Still, if you want to share them, I'll happily read them, but I would prefer to read the ones that are like not related to that one. And because my page is currently public for anyone, any age, stir away from those NSFW ones. If one day I open a page that's like 18 plus, then maybe I'll think about it. But for now, let's keep it PG. Let's see. Oh, what's my favorite thing about being an actor? Um, Honestly, it's the fact that I can do stuff on stage that I just will never see myself ever do, like IRL. um, I or things that I will I guess it's a little bit of both, right? There's things that I like end up doing as an actor that I'm like, ooh, this feels good. I want to do this. This feels nice, which does lean a little bit on like my little gender experience. There were a couple of roles that I was like, why does this feel so aligned with me, what's going on? And then that kind of opened up a whole new world. I've also gotten to learn how to do sleight of hand magic, which I will be teaching some fun sleight of hand tricks on my tutorial Tuesdays on the Patreon. So some fun stuff is coming up on that. For example, this last Thursday, I did a show where I just like opened a jar of sauce and just like dipped my hands in the jar of sauce and just like smeared it all over my face. I would never do that in a day-to-day situation, but I get to do it in theater. So I kind of just like love that I get to be, I get to explore different aspects of myself on stage or on film, and it's great. And sometimes I'm like, I would never do that again, and sometimes I'm like, oh hey, I would love to do that again. That would be a great time. Um, okay, goodness. Oh, do I prefer stage or TV acting? Both have their own special thing. Stage will always have my soul, because there's something really beautiful in the relationship between the audience and the scene that you're in. um you feed off the energy, and you discover new things each day. And you discover things too when you're on screen, and that's also really exciting. But then once that take is chosen, that is the one that's going to be there for the rest of of eternity. And so with theater, there's always that, like, as you grow with the show, with the performance, with the people that you're working with, and each audience is going to be different. They're going to catch something different. You feel something different, and it's really exciting. My favorite, if you had to work on a show but not as an actor, what department would I choose? This is kind of cheating because I sort of did work that department for a little bit. Um, I would be in the stunt department. I can see myself being in the stunt department or in the VFX makeup. Even though I'm not necessarily incredibly great at like makeup, but I'm like really crafty. So I could learn pretty quickly on how to like do scars and just like blood coming. I like that kind of like makeup, not like the um glamour one, but just like, oh, do I need like a jaw that is falling apart or like a cut somewhere? Like I love that shit. It's very gory. Wasn't expecting that for myself. But definitely the stunt department. I enjoyed I enjoyed being beaten up many times, or sliced to death, or I it was fun. It was a fun time fighting and dying over and over. Um, yeah, that was fun. Um, and some quick ones. My favorite color is red. Even though I have so much green here. But red is my favorite color. The combination of red, um, black, gray, and gold, I really, really enjoy. Um, my favorite plant. Uh, okay, so I have Roberta here, spelled rubber because it's like Roberta because it's a rubber plant. But I'm so sorry. You are really nice, but you're not my favorite. But she's cute. My favorite one is Carmen, but forgot what is Carmen's type of plant. If anyone here, I took a photo because I don't know what Carmen is, but but I call her Carmen. And I loved her so much because during lockdown, she's still in my bedroom, but during lockdown, the way that she was positioned, it was she was hit by my AC, and I have these little like shimmery like golden things coming out of my windows. So when the sun would hit her specifically, it would create like it would cast like a really fun rainbow shadow. And with the AC hitting her, it would kind of like ruffle her leaves. So she looked like she was always just like dancing, like it was just cute. So I don't know what type of plant is that one, but Carmen. Oh, she's a Draka sounds like some sort of dragon, and it makes sense because I love dragons, and I will one day expand further into that. Um, okay, I feel like my goodness, it's already been half an hour. Um, Cute. Should I do one more question, and then I have one here. I'll just end. I guess I'll end with that one. Oh, Dracina, I believe. Okay, cool. Dracina. Thank you for that, for the pronunciation, because I was struggle busting clearly. Um, which is a fun thing too. When I'm doing audiobooks, I do read the book before and then just like mark some words that I don't really know how to pronounce. But sometimes I just think that I know how to pronounce a certain word. And oftentimes the audio engineer is like, no, that's not how you say that. But I just assume I just go for it. I'm assertive about my pronunciations, even though they're not correct. Um, I have one here that asks about what was my process like learning to fight with a sword. So I'll go on a small little story. Um, I don't know if everybody knows this, but I was a fencer. Um, and I started fencing when I was 11. Uh, my mother wanted something for my brother to do during the summer, and she was looking at the newspaper, and then she sees this fencer won some medal, some Puerto Rican fencer won some medal, and she was like, "Oh, y'all sword fight all the time with like broomsticks. Let's do this, right?" But she was like, talking to my brother, and I was like, "I'd like to come. Like, may I?" And she was like, "Yeah, sure." So we go to this, fencing uh, warehouse essentially, and my brother and I are sitting in the bleachers, and then we're just like seeing everybody with swords, just like going at it, stabbing each other, and swinging it left and right, and we were just like, this is perfect. We need to do this. This needs to be our thing now. And at the time, I was deep in ballet. My mom was a ballerina, and she really wanted me to follow her footsteps. And my dad was never a baseball player, but was a very big baseball fan. And my brother was on baseball. So both me and my brother were kind of just like we're just kind of like living our parents' dreams. And then we sat down in those bleachers, and it was like, this is the way. This is our path. And so we started fencing. My first experience was with foil, but it was short lived. I did foil maybe for like a month and a half. Um, Within that month, my coach was like, "Hey, there's a tournament going on. It's open for everybody. Do it." Obviously, it was a month in. So both me and my brother were going to suck. And we did. We definitely sucked. We didn't go any further, right? But when I started competing, my coach saw me, and he was like, "No, you're not a foil fencer. You're a saber fencer." So clearly, everyone was like, after a month, yeah, yeah, we sucked. We definitely sucked. But after my coach saw me, he was like, "Yeah, you're doing saber." So to give you, and I'll do more videos around the different styles of fencing and the different swords, and like what are the different parries and reposts and all that jazz. But foil, to make it easy, it's more pointy. and Saber is more slashy. And so apparently when he saw me, he was like, "Yeah, you're a little Tasmanian devil. You have too much energy. You gotta do Saber." With foil and with epee, most of the styles you see people kind of just like doing the little jumps back and forth, and it's a bit more like the footwork is a little different. So you're kind of just like staying around the same length and like trying to get a little, in and then a little out, and you're kind of doing that back and forth. In Saber, you're either charging forward or charging backwards. There is no in between. If you're doing too much of that, you're either attacking or you're defending. Um, and so yeah, I started saber fencing. I was the only saber fencer in Puerto Rico for a good while who was not a cis guy. So I trained with cis gentlemen for quite some time. And I was like 11 when I started, and they were all like 15, 16, 17, and they did not like they they went for it. They did not held back, which at the end of the day, I was like, I preferred it, Um, I became really good, and and I started obviously was losing all the time, and then all of a sudden I started to like get really good at being speedy, at being more mischievous, at being more playful. I was really good at counterattacking, and then I started winning, and then more people started to feel inspired to do saber fencing in Puerto Rico, uh, and so then I started to travel and all that jazz, and became part of the team, became part of the national team. That was going to be a whole. I was very close for. I was close to becoming like fencing being my career. I was coaching kids around like when I was like 15, 16. Like I was coaching like 7, 8, and 9 year olds, which was the most adorable thing because their masks were like bigger than their and the swords also were like sometimes taller than the kid itself. It was precious. But yeah, that's kind of my fencing story. I definitely have a lot more around that, but I kind of want to leave it here. I'm very excited to teach you all how to do some fencing and some knife skills. Because of my fencing, when I moved to LA, I started doing stunts. So I learned how to sword fight with broadswords and like different types of weapons. They all have their own unique style and their own type of footwork. They all have a different story. So I'm excited to, slowly start showing you all these different things. And yeah, this is great. Hopefully this was enough. I kind of want to keep going, but this is for everybody, right? But for anyone who joins the Patreon, I do have monthly Q&As the last Saturday of every month. I'm going to try to keep it always at like 10 a.m. PST. I will say though, the next one will be in October, and it will be in London. I will probably be in the hotel room with my with my parents, taking the live stream, and I think I might do it once the convention's over, just so that's all done, and then like we're all in the hotels, and then we'll like kiki and have a good time. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for all the questions. I'm excited to keep expanding on more of these subjects in the Patreon. And yeah, I'll see you all around. Thank you so much. See you soon. See you in London and see you in New York. Yeah, please. Yeah, say hi. Cheers, y'all.